Hello, this is Anna Pacheco, SantaFe101.com. My guest today is Joshua Schultz, and he is with Zachary and Sons. They are contractors here in Santa Fe. Joshua, is it okay that it's okay, I have your permission to record this interview?
Yes.
Oh, good. So, I automatically, when I heard Zachary and Sons, I thought that was your surname, but finds out that happens to be your father's first name. So tell me a little bit about your dad, and did he start the business? How long, is it a big family affair? Is it just you and your dad? Tell me a little bit about the background of Zachary and Sons, and then we'll talk all about the great houses you build here in Santa Fe.
Sure, sure. Yeah. So Zachary moved us, my mom and my brother, and I have a sister, to Santa Fe in 1992, where he was a builder previously in Florida and had visited Santa Fe quite a few times. And in fact, his parents lived here in the 70s, and so real familiar with the area. Always interested in sort of the architecture, the way things were constructed. So when he came to Santa Fe in 92, he started building homes in El Dorado. And I was about 6 years old at the time. And so we've been here since 1992. It was previously Zachary's Homes, and my brother Aaron and myself decided to jump on board with my father. He was gracious enough to allow us to do that, and so we've been a part of now Zachary and Sons since 2013.
And for our listeners out there, Josh mentioned El Dorado. El Dorado is kind of like a bedroom community, or it's almost a subdivision, I guess you'd call, of Santa Fe. It's about 8 miles from the city of Santa Fe. But I noticed on your website that you're doing a lot of work in the town proper these days. Tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. So in the early 90s, subdivisions like El Dorado were sort of the starting point for builders. Like Tierra Concepts is an example of a builder that sort of started out in El Dorado. And so as Santa Fe started to grow and new subdivisions started to form, subdivisions like Cerros Colorados, Las Campanas, Santa Fe Summit, areas like that, Zachary started to branch out into those areas. He really is well known for his mountain building out here. And I'm actually currently in one of the homes that we built in 2017. We're doing some remodeling right now. And Cerros Colorados is the subdivision where we've built about 14 homes in the mountains. So throughout the years leading up to about 2005 or six, Zachary was known for the really challenging sites, really tough building envelopes here in Santa Fe.
And Santa Fe Summit, that's on the way up to the ski basin. Is that
Correct.
correct?
And so
And
is Sarah.
I had heard that those houses, like going to the ski basin, that they're actually like 1,000 feet higher than the city of Santa Fe. So we're at 7,200 feet, but some of those houses are like in the 8,000 foot range. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, it's about 8,500 or so, I would say. It's a little bit, higher than the city. But really the challenges of the mountains have been, just the site work and the unknowns that come with, and the challenges that come with sort of like that mountain style building, as opposed to, in the valley of maybe a Las Campanas or something like that.
Well, I've often wondered, like, what do you do? I mean, do you dig wells up there? Are you part of the water system of the city of Santa Fe, or what do you do for, for the basic, the basic utilities that, we just take for granted here in town? What do you work with when you're up, building a home up on the mountaintop there?
It's surprising. Santa Fe Utilities goes all the way up, just it's like just below um, Izanami and 10,000 Waves. So about as far as you can go up as far as building a house here towards the ski basin. You are on city water, which is a good thing. So city utilities. Santa Fe is sort of a hodgepodge. There are like hodgepodge neighborhoods and subdivisions that some do require implementing utility lines and wells. It's sort of the way it was designed back in there in the 80s and 90s when it was really booming. Um, sort of how the developer set it up.
And I wonder, like those houses going toward the ski basin, when does it become the national forest? I mean, who actually owned those lots that people were able to build on? How did that work out?
So it was in the early 90s, developers bought land it was city owned. I don't believe the national forest it actually goes up a little bit higher, but it's all city land, bought from the city, I believe. Don't quote me on that. And then there's trails like Dale Ball Trail is a big trail that runs through Cerros, Colorado. And so the lots are sort of embedded throughout the Dale Ball Trail, which is a really well-known hiking and biking trail here in Santa Fe.
And so, like, the trail is owned by is it like the National Park Service, or who owns these trails, or that's part of
I,
the?
I would think that that's a taxpayer sort of thing. We all own it. We all pay.
So then when you're building houses up there, that doesn't like become an issue where somebody builds a house, say, well, I don't want this trail right behind my backyard because people are going to be traipsing through. Is that ever an issue, or people kind of, when they get there, it's like, well, I want to be in this cool house and there happens to be this public trail, just down the road, and that's the way it is, right?
I think that's the way it is. It's sort of integrated into that's the public spaces and sort of an attraction to this area specifically is the outdoors, the feeling of being in the mountains, being away from town, but also that ability to go to the grocery store and be 5-10 minutes away. So it's a really attractive place to want to live up here.
Well, and that's a beautiful area, and the views are phenomenal. So that it's, if anybody's watching this, those are areas to definitely look at if you're thinking of moving to Santa Fe. I wanted to ask you, your dad he was a contractor in Florida, but his kind of his forte now is to build houses like on the mountains. How did that progression happen? How does somebody who builds houses in Florida, where it's totally different, somehow become so adept at like figuring out how to build houses on the side of a mountain? How does that work out?
Sure. I think it's sort of this adapt and change. It just, you sort of, we're I'm a sixth generation in the family builder. His dad was a home builder. My great grandfather was also a builder. So it's sort of in our blood in a sense. Constructing, figuring out how to build things. My dad's a very smart man, as far as being able to, take on challenges that come with a completely new style of building as opposed to those previous locations that he lived in. And so I think it's just been one of those learn as you go, and time has been one of those. We have gotten better and better, even since I've joined, as far as becoming that high-end builder, known for building really quality homes here in Santa Fe.
And so, do you have an estimate of how many homes you've actually built in the Santa Fe area since your dad arrived here in 1992?
I don't know an exact number, but it's over 100. So it's probably in that 110 range.
And you're kind of you're in these houses tend to be in the high end in terms of cost. What is the average cost of a Zachary and Son home?
It's $1 million plus home. That's where it didn't always start that way, but it gradually, that's with a slot that we put ourselves in. And so I would say that the range that we're building in currently right now, an average home like in Las Campanas is over 2 million, I would say, but we have projects right now that are 1.2 million, 1.3 million. So, and then one right now that's 3.5 million. So, we're really sort of all over the map, but $1 million plus homes is what you see out of Zachary and Sons.
Yeah, and that tends to be like, so you've found your niche, where, so you're kind of like anything over $1 million. So tell me, is there a big market for, are there people wanting to come to Santa Fe that are looking at a $3 million home, or are you seeing that there's a lot of activity? And pardon my ignorance, but I'm not a realtor, and I just wouldn't know, what the market would bear. So tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. So Santa Fe has a lot of attractive aspects to it, being that we're a very historical town. We're a capital city. We're at the sort of southern tip, you would say, at maybe of the Rocky Mountains. It's a very unique place to be, and it's becoming more attractive as you know, as this pandemic has sort of progressed. Folks wanting to leave the bigger cities, deciding maybe we don't have to work in an office, we can work wherever we want to. And so Santa Fe is seeing an influx of people from California, Texas, Illinois, like Chicago area. It's become, you know, I always say that this is like the hidden gem. It's such a hidden gem here in Santa Fe, and it's becoming less of a
Oh, it's
hidden
not a
gem.
hidden gem anymore. Trust me. Everybody knows Santa Fe now.
So,
This
so
happens to be my hometown. It used
yeah,
to
so
be a
there you
hidden
go.
gem. It's no longer. It's a, you know,
Yeah,
it's everybody knows about Santa Fe now, I
everyone
think.
knows about Santa Fe. So, um, yeah, we're just seeing an influx of people that are really coming on the high end, and where you're starting to see the 3, the 5, and the $10 million sort of clientele coming, as Santa Fe, as opposed to California, is still, you know, there's a lot of value here. You get a lot for their money, coming from places like maybe Northern California.
Yeah,
And
I always tell people that, you know, $1 million sounds like a lot of money for somebody like me, but you get a lot for a million. I mean, you get a lot for your money here. $1 million in Midtown Manhattan maybe will get you a one-bedroom apartment, maybe. And I used to live in New York, so I know about New York real estate, but not California. But so you get more. But so tell me, what would $10 million get you? Like, would you get like several acres of land as well? Or I mean, Santa Fe, I think we're kind of tapped out in terms of you can't buy huge parcels of land in the city proper anymore. I don't think. Can you?
it's tough, to, you know, there are little spots here and there, like La Tierra Nueva has quite a few, and that's out towards Buckman Road and Las Campanas, where they've got lot sizes of 10-acre plus.
Oh, you do? Okay.
You'll see big, large estates going in there. They allow horses and whatnot. So you will see some larger homes going out there. Really, typically in the Las Campanas area, I would say it's about a $2 to $5 million range, maybe even the one to $5 million range. But yeah, I mean, they're large homes. You know, fifteen
The
thousand
views are
square foot
incredible. I
house.
mean, it's like when you're coming in for a landing on a plane. That's what it is. Some of these living room windows, incredible views. I mean, that
Right.
alone is worth the money, I think. And then for people that are watching this, Las Campanas is a private gated community. So if they have a golf course, they have a gym, they have a clubhouse. I mean, it's a pretty kind of a well insulated place to live. So I mean, I guess you pay dues to live there, but you have a lot of they offer a lot of amenities.
Sure. And like when you're seeing clients coming into Santa Fe and they are looking at so much expansive views, and like out there, the BLM land where there's 60,000 acres of, you know, untouched, you know, New Mexico landscape. And they're coming from this, like you mentioned earlier, like this basically box area, like no land and high costs of living. Out here, it's just this is like such a calming place, and there's a good reason why people sort of, when they come, they don't really want to leave.
Exactly. And then there's so many, culturally, we're basically the cultural haven, or we're the cultural center of the Southwest in terms of performing arts. We're the second or third largest art market in the country. There's a lot going on for a city this small. We're about 85,000. So I went to your website. You have like 3 or 4 different home models. Do you want to talk a little bit about the different homes that you build, so that somebody might say, hey, that one sounds kind of interesting? Tell me a little bit about that.
So we are a custom builder, meaning that we build modern homes that you would maybe see in California. We build, you know, very traditional style homes. And when I say traditional, I mean New Mexico traditional adobe, vigas, lots of wood, lots of craftsmanship. And what's become very signature Zachary and Sons is this sort of term, and it's not trademarked by us or anything, but this transitional style, which is this blend of modern and New Mexico traditional. And so you see a lot of woodwork. There is a lot of craftsmanship, but the windows are and glass. There's a lot of it, and because Santa Fe and New Mexico, our landscape is our art. You know, it's our it is in a lot of ways the thing that we look at every single day. And so we really want to maximize views of the mountains, views of the landscape, natural landscape. And so open floor concepts, style floor plans have really become sort of a staple style for Zachary and Sons. So that like kind of middle of the road.
And then you're talking about like transitional. I mean, do your rooms tend to be higher? Do you have like 18-foot ceilings, or I mean, is it like, I'm thinking like open space. So is it like, is it higher than a typical home would be in terms of the height of the interior of a home?
Sure. Yeah, not necessarily. I think when I think of open floor concepts, I think of like maybe your living room, dining room, kitchen, or sort of maybe one big room, and then you know, just this free flowing way of living. And it, you know, in the past, like maybe even my dad's generation, you would have these rooms in the house that you never really used, in particular, like formal dining rooms and stuff like that, where they were really cool to look at, but you only went in there
For Christmas.
Christmas, Thanksgiving, or something like that. And so the homes now are much more functional. Rooms are being used every day. And I think that's sort of, you know, when I think of like the way that we think of like waste and optimizing how we live and our footprint that we put on the land, that's sort of the track that we're sort of seeing is just more functional homes. Maybe they're a little bit smaller than they used to be, but much more functional.
Well, that makes perfect sense. So we're getting closer to the interview now. So tell me a little bit about does your dad still, does he's kind of like still the guy who plans out everything and says, okay, you're going to do this, Josh, your brother's doing this, or what role do you play in the company?
Sure. So I sort of do quite a bit. I dibble dabble a little bit in the marketing. I enjoy the most is project management and being on site, talking to the clients, talking to the subcontractors, really getting my hands sort of dirty, not in the sense of, you know, cutting wood or holding a hammer, but really
A manager, yeah,
a
yeah,
management
overseeing
side.
everything. And
So it started with Zach, myself, and Aaron, and now we have Morgan, we have Kyle, we have office manager, we have several project managers. So we're a company of 10, 12 people now, and so it's really grown into something that we're really proud of. Zachary is still the captain of the ship and at the helm, and he really just is a client liaison and really looking at the numbers and the accounting and keeping us on track, my brother and myself. So yeah, it's really a family dynamic, and we're really happy to be here, happy to be in Santa Fe and really producing really quality homes.
and next year you'll be celebrating your 30th anniversary here. That's quite an accomplishment. So we're going to end now, but I just want to find out if somebody were watching this and they say, you know what, I'm going to check out Zachary and Sons. What would the timing be like if they had a lot of land? I mean, they already had the land and they had chosen on a particular design of maybe one of yours, or you incorporated some of the things they want. What would the time frame be like from the day they sign a contract with you till the day they can walk into their new home? How long does it take to build one of these incredibly beautiful up market or upscale homes in Santa Fe?
Sure. So we are a design build firm. The design phase usually takes between 3 and 4 months, and then our homes typically are taking 12 to 14 months to build. On the Due to the pandemic and the shortage of supplies and sort of the logistical challenges we're facing, it is every bit of a year and a half from
Well,
start to finish.
well, to me, it sounded more like almost 2 years, but that's still reasonable. But it's just a good idea to kind of, know what the time frame would be. Is there
Yeah.
anything you want to end with? Anything that somebody might want to know? Of course, all of your contact details will accompany this interview. But is there anything you want people to know about Zachary and Sons, or the idea of building, having a custom built home in Santa Fe? Any parting words?
Just visit our website, zacharyandsons.com. A lot of information and cool pictures to check out some of our finished homes, and we're available to at any time to meet them on the lot, to talk about a house. There's really no pressure. This is a large investment for anybody. In some cases, life savings. So it's not something that gets done in a day. It takes time, and do your homework. And yeah, that's about all I have.
Well, I want to thank you, Josh, of Zachary and Sons, and kudos to your dad. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thank you.
Thank
Take
you.
care.